outside of the family and the friends, I mean, the fact that you've got the biggest element of this documentary, Lee Murray's voice.
Yeah.
How did you do that? How did that come together? That is the most fascinating part for me as someone that understands a little bit about film production, documentary filmmaking, and just producing content. Unbelievable that you've got his voice almost narrating his perspective and his POV throughout the entire 4 episodes here. How did you do that?
Well, that was the moment when we were going, oh my God, like, not only do we have the story, like, we can actually incorporate Lee's voice. I didn't know that those recordings existed. They didn't tell me that until well into this process. So again, I think it comes back to the whole test that they were doing. And then, I mean, they sat me down one day and said, we've had these recordings for years of that, multiple recordings with multiple people, Lee's friends and family members, his wife in particular, Nicola, that they've had. And I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. And again, it's because they said, there's been so many things that have been done that are not accurate. They felt like everything, every news piece, every article, whatever it was, publication that talked about the story or talked about Lee Murray, they felt like was not accurate. So they started recording phone conversations with him in prison. And I was blown away, completely blown away. And then we started hearing them. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So it was an amazing moment of, wow, we can actually include Lee's voice. Because I've never interviewed Lee Murray. I've never spoken to him. He's in a maximum security prison right now. Hopefully not too big of a spoiler alert, but you can Google this pretty easily and see. And so, you can't, there's nobody outside of a couple of people that are on the list, right, for the prison for him to talk to gets to speak to him, So I've never spoken to him, never interviewed him at all. And the fact that essentially these people had asked him questions about what happened, what his role was, what are you thinking? All of this stuff was an absolute gold mine. And we got very, very lucky, to be able to include that. But again, it's why it's the dream to go, hey, we can actually piece together this from his perspective as well. So we can bounce back and forth from the police saying this happened and then him saying this happened and vice versa. So you're getting it from both sides, which is everything that you want when you're making a doc about something this complex.
Isn't that so bizarre? I mean, like you said, like the figure that this whole documentary is centered around, you have not met him, you have not interviewed him, and yet it's such a integral part of the experience watching this documentary. Unbelievable that landed on your lap there.
Well, and when you hear it too, when you hear somebody's voice, you learn so much about that person, and like, I remember my whole team, like the first time we heard it, everybody listening to it. And there was other clips, archival clips of him speaking, but not that many that we could even find. And we had tons of people looking for it. But when you hear him talk, I mean, that was the thing that was so surprising. You're like, okay, this is just his voice takes you beyond, again, like the kind of shallow, mythical, a reported version of who he actually is. And to hear him speak about these things, it's like, it creates a completely different picture of who Lee Murray is. And I think we get by far the closest it's, any story that's ever been told about him as a three-dimensional person, not just a fighter, not just a criminal, right? You get to hear from him in a way that, I mean, hell, nobody's heard his voice publicly in 17 years outside his friends and family that are on that call list.
Thanks for watching this episode of Smack Talk with Sandu. Hey, do me a favor, hit the like button, drop a comment, let me know what you think, share this with your friends, and if you really enjoyed it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I have a lot more amazing content planned, so jump along for the ride.